Greetings, my fellow Airsoft tournament nerds. Today I'm going to be talking about the managers, the field managers or the field owners or the staff's perspective, particularly obviously the manager standpoint, because that's my standpoint, from tournaments and sort of kind of at least what goes through my mind, and from talking with managers in other states, what kind of goes through their mind as well. If you are curious about the player's perspective, you need to watch AJ's videos because he's probably got the best perspective of a player as far as a competitive player's expectations. I'm going to link his shit down in the description somewhere if I can remember. So I started hosting tournaments in 2016 when I was still a staff member with the Airsoft Ministry. I was a volunteer staff member, so anytime I was hosting tournaments from 2016 until we privatized Airsoft Ministry into True Aim, which was 2020, January 2020 officially. So for 4 years, I was hosting tournaments for free. So you want to talk about community and dedication with me, you better fucking come prepared, because I've been deep in the game. A field level tournament is going to be a low level dumpster fire at best. Usually, unless the field is charging like baller level money, and I'll kind of go over those points as well. But as a general rule, tournaments are a pain in the ass. They require about 200% of the work when compared to public play, and they only return 30 to 40% of kind of what you're putting into it as far as your staffing, everything involved, your promotions, the overall effort on a field level tournament. And sometimes on some of the higher end formats, it's just not worth the money. It's not financially worth it. Scroll down. Field refs, just talking about field refs, or tournament refs, I should say. Who's gonna ref this? Who's gonna do the reffing? Because using field refs, when I use field refs, it's taking away from my public play staff. And there's a decent chance that like anyone that's reffing that tournament is already kind of beat out on players because they've been reffing birthday parties before we opened publicly. So you need to factor that in mind. So if that ref's getting a little huffy, like, hey dude, did you run like birthday party full of Fortniters that didn't want to keep their mask on all day and kept breaking rentals? Like, oh, that's why you're touchy. Okay, that makes sense. You might ask, what about using players as refs? I'll touch on that in a second. I'll also go over my what I'm calling the friendship format. So you remember like friendship as a fatality, or not as a finishing move in Mortal Kombat? It's friendship, not friendship. It's friendship, bitches. I'll talk about that in a minute. Me personally, since I run an outdoor field, so for the environment, you really need to be, in tournaments overall, you need to be using tracer BB so refs can see where your damn shots are going. I'm outdoors. We're open during the day when the sun is up. You know how hard it is to watch and track white BBs flying all over the place from dude to dude, plus you're trying to differentiate what was and was not a ricochet? This shit's hard. If you haven't ever reffed a tournament outdoors, shut up. I don't want to hear your complaints. Just shut up. I know, right? It's really aggressive. It doesn't need to be this mean. You kind of get two options when you're doing an outdoor tournament. You really get two options. You can have option one, which is when the ref thinks a player was hit. They're not certain. They're pretty sure he was hit, which means they could be wrong, but players are going to be pulled more frequently. Or you can wait longer, and that ref is only going to pull players when they're absolutely certain they saw the BB strike the player. Which one do you want? Because realistically, when you're dealing with a daytime outdoor tournament or any tournament where tracer BBs aren't being used, that's what you're looking at. So you can't just be like, hey bro, if you don't even know, just pull them. Who cares? Just pull them. And then we'll look like we're doing the right thing, when in reality, we don't know what the fuck's going on because these guys aren't using tracer BBs for insert reason here. Or do you want to tell your players like, hey dude, if my refs don't see it, it didn't happen, which is what I default my guys to. So what do you want? You get to pick one. You don't get to have both. We'll go over like night tournaments and stuff in a minute. But that's kind of like the general environment rant, I guess I could say. Field overall. My tournament field is small for a reason. So I believe the dimensions for playable field, I think it's like 90 by 60 somewhere, but it's no more. I don't even think it's 100 feet long. And I don't think it's any more than 60 feet wide. If you're an NSL head, you go ahead and like Google what that means in meters or whatever bass-backwards measurements you're using over in Disneyland or wherever the hell, or stones. I don't know what you're doing. My tournament field is shorter because my theory is that shorter fields and shorter engagements should reduce the amount of no hits, or should it decrease the hit calling problems? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Again, really, tracer BBs are kind of the best way to go with that one. Pardon me. I may or may not have been drinking, so eat it. Where did I leave off on my notes? Scroll down. You're never going to see me host a true aim tournament. That's like a traditional conventional speed style tournament, like a 5-on-5, pull a flag, shoot each other, blah, blah, blah. I will never run more than 100 foot by 60 foot field. Why? What's my incentive? What's my financial incentive? Why? Oh, you should incorporate the wasteland. Why? Am I going to make more money? No. I'll go over the greedy money part in a second. Because it really comes down to how much money am I going to make and how hard am I going to have to work to make it. I'm going to be real. You don't like that, but run your own field. How's that? The players overall, the players in general. Tournament players already own everything they need to play. The most I'm going to get from a tournament player is field fees and like basic consumables, so like BB's gas and all-day HBA fields. That's it. They already have their own gear and all this other stuff, and I'll talk about retail in a second. But that young kid, that first-time player or that rental, that dude is going to come into my store. He's going to buy a gun. He's going to buy magazines. He's going to buy speed loaders. He's going to buy plate carriers, gloves. He's going to lose those gloves. He's going to buy gloves from me again. He's going to buy an HK Hostile, and then he's going to go, oh, this was cool. I want a better one. And then he's going to buy a Die 4, Die 5. He's going to spend ridiculous amounts of money with me. How much money am I going to make off a tournament player? Field fee, BBs, HPA field, that's it. So that's for a tournament, 30, 50 to 60 maybe. And also you got to remember, a lot of these tournament players are not my regulars. Look at all the dudes, look at the brackets. Go to any tournament in Northern California. Look at the brackets, look at where those teams are living or where they're coming from. I'm not mad that DVS DV8 isn't a Roseville regular. Like a lot of those guys live in the Bay Area. So yeah, they're not going to be regulars for me. So as a manager, as a business owner, what should I focus on? Should I focus on my homies, the dudes that I love, that I honestly personally care more about as the tournament players, that are only going to spend $60 at most at my tournament, and then I probably won't see them again for another 3 to 4 months or until when the next event is and the next tournament is? Or should I focus on that first time rental? Because he's going to go through that experience, and as soon as about 2 o'clock hits, or excuse me, about an hour before the field closes, homie's going to come to my store and he's going to start looking at guns. Who gets my attention as a businessman? Not personally. Who gets my attention as a businessman? I got bills to pay, kids. I got staff to pay. And I'm in this for the long run. So it's business. Don't get mad, homie. It's just business. Also, let's look at player conduct, which I've gone at length about this. Look at how many dudes are going to hashtag community, hashtag for their community all over the place, but not even like their second set in, they're already trying to fight. they're already swearing at each other. Or they're saying, fuck you, that's why you're on a cheater-ass team. Or fuck you, that's why no one likes your team. Or fuck you, that's why your sponsors drop you. Or fuck you, insert reason or shitty thing to say here. Community, huh? Community. Really? For the community? Really? I have to put up with that all day? Great. Cool. Awesome. I get to put up with grown men acting like children all day, which granted does happen on a public play. That's just not as much. And it's just worse with tournament players. For whatever reason, insert reason here, whatever, it happens. But yeah, I don't want to deal with that. And if you have, so let's say you got a young kid, right? This young kid, let's say he's been watching high kappa videos, speed QB videos, demo videos. He's a fan of LTD. Even if he's a fan locally, say like he watches AJ's videos and he comes to a tournament with his parents, which a lot of these kids are young, or even if he doesn't, if it's just a young kid and he sees this conduct, how is that going to impact him coming into the scene? A lot of these kids don't want to fuck with a speed field because of the player conduct. Now let's even go a step further, because this has happened as well. Parents watch it. Not even like their kid was like, hey mom, this is what I want to do, let's go check it out. Just they were checking out the field and they just happened to walk by the speed field, go, oh, this is interesting, watch that. Oh my goodness, what did he say? We're out of here. If you think player conduct, and granted, again, this same criticism can be said about public play. But, especially if you're NorCal, how many times have you seen this on a public play session versus at a tournament? Let's be real, where does it happen the most, kids? Where did I leave off on my notes? So they're just casually checking it out, blah, blah, blah. Player conduct and its repercussions on me and my business could be an entire video on its own, and it just might be. I've had parents tell their kids or tell me like, hey, will you let me know if my kid goes around the speed field? I'd already told him he's not allowed to go there. Because of, even if it's outside of a tournament, just players being players. It's just the nature of the beast. Retail, my specialty right now. As I make this video in my retail store with 3 jerseys hanging up on my wall with Speed QB gear behind me and with, look at that, a CSL banner hanging on my wall. Okay, let's talk about retail. I would love to sell Cubby Soft. I do. At some point, probably closer to Christmas, if we have money to burn, I'll probably drop, I think the minimum order for Cubby Soft is like $1,000 or $2,000. It's not chunk change necessarily. But let's even say I buy $1,000. Now you're thinking $1,000 retail. Let's take like 15 to 20% off. $1,000 worth of Cubby Soft product. How fast do you think that's gonna move? This year, I've only sold about $6,500 worth of Speed QB gear. Speed QB, the biggest name in the game right now. They've got they have the YouTube presence, they have the Instagram presence, you got Sapo, you got Demo, you got Fab, Maggot, Roosta, all the guys. Everyone in the game knows about Speed QB. Everyone. $6,500 worth of Speed QB merchandise this year so far, starting from 1 January to now. And yes, I did check my analytics on that. That is not a lot of money, kids. It's not. $6,500, that's nothing. In retail, that's not a lot. It's just, it is what it is. So now, if I want to add Cubby Soft, now mind you, that's also not factoring in magazines. That's just like chest rigs, belt strips and stuff. So like last month alone, I think I only sold maybe like 1 or 2 belts and 1 or 2 chest rigs. My Matrix plate carriers, I sell about 3 or 4 of those every weekend. In a month, I might sell maybe 3 belts or chest rigs for Speed QB in a month. That's just the nature of retail. So, Cubbysoft. I would absolutely love to sell Cubbysoft. And at some point I will when I can afford to just basically light that money on fire. But I will be purchasing Cubbysoft with the understanding that it's basically a decoration on my wall. Just like how the CSL banner is. It's just going to be a decoration on my wall so that my store, my business, will stand out as the business that fucks with the brand and fucks with the community the most. Because I sell that stuff. I spent the money on it. I spent money on it, my money. I didn't get it donated. I didn't buy it secondhand. I purchased it as a vendor. And I understand it's not going to move. It's just going to chill. That's just the nature of it. Womp womp. Same with Monk. Find another store in Northern California. Find a store in California that sells Monk products. I have ESG grips for Wolverines and for Polar Stars, and I have the micro rigs, and I have the M adapters in my store. Find me another store that does that in California. N1, I think, might. Tax City might. AX ain't gonna carry it. CQB City's not gonna carry it. Who's got it? I got a baby. So, that's a thing. That's cool. Even knowing that, right? I understand what it means to fuck with the scene. I understand it. I will always be down. Just me personally, that's the way I guide my business. You look at how Tacos gets sponsored, how their sponsorship package or deal or whatever you want to call it is fundamentally different than any other team in Northern California. And I will talk dollars with you. I will tell you the dollars we throw out. And they'll tell you too, like, oh dude, they take care of us. So I fucks with the scene. So that's just what you do. I'll do a separate video on supporting the community through retail. That's its own thing. And this was to be a lot longer than you thought, didn't it? Yeah. Welcome to someone's opinion. It's not a 5-minute video. Okay, like, subscribe. Like, a 5-minute opinion is not really an opinion. Money resources. Again, got bills and staff to pay. Let's say I'm running a simple, like a 5-on-5 TDM or any 5-on-5 format, right? Your standard 5-on-5 speed format. Anything more than a 3-on-3 at a minimum is going to need 6 refs to be done effectively. If I'm only going to charge, say, 30 to 40 per head, which is about 10 to 20, so my field fee is $20. So say I charge 10 to 20 more than a normal field fee, I get 10 teams of 5. I'm gonna make $1,500 to $2,000, which if I get a full 10 roster of 5 players, it's probably in like the fall, springtime, meaning the weather is gorgeous in Northern California, and my public sessions are gonna get about anywhere between 120 to 200 players. I can pull the numbers for what we do in the spring. We will get 200 players on public play, okay? That's a lot. It's going to be more this year because there's a lot of stuff happen for us. On a great day, my field can have about 9 refs, and that's if I pull in myself, Ethan, and Daniel. All 3 of us would have been working all week already, 5 days a week, and now we got to work Saturday as well. Cool. Already, personally, I'm not a fan of that because guess what's on Saturday for me? UFC and boxing. Great. Oh, if you notice, I try not to schedule field tournaments around major UFC cards. That is by design. So let's say I got like those 9, right? Of those 9, I'm telling you right now, I have one staff member who outright refuses to ref tournaments ever again because of the player conduct in the past. He's not gonna do it. Womp womp. I've got one dude that's kind of 50-50. That's like, I'll do it if you need me. I really don't want to because those guys are dicks. Straight up. Other than that, there's about 6 dudes on my payroll, including myself, who can effectively ref, manage, and run a tournament. 6 of us. entirely focused on nothing but a tournament consisting of 10 players on the field at a time. Great. Allocation of resources, that's not that great. This is going to leave about 3 refs to run a desk, that's going to leave 3 refs. One's going to run my desk, so they can continue to check people in chrono and blah, blah, blah. That's going to leave 2 on public play. And again, if I'm full up on the roster, it's because weather is good, and I've got maybe 120, 150, 200 kids. On a average day in spring, we'll do about 150. 2 refs for that? Okay, granted, on 150, maybe 20 of them are sitting out, so maybe it's like 130, but do 2 refs? That's not ideal. So now public play sessions could be diminished because I've now devoted all of my energy and resources to a tournament. Because again, when you fucks with something, that's what you do. So that's not great. And usually that tournament I just talked about, double a limb, it's probably gonna be 4 to 6 hours long. Ballpark, depending on any issues, depending on staff breaks, this, that, and the other, 4 to 6 hours. At some point, I legally have to give my refs breaks. I don't take breaks. Ethan doesn't take breaks. Dan doesn't. We don't give a hoot. At some point, I legally have to give my hourly employees breaks. It's just what I have to do, especially if they've been working birthday parties for me. Birthday parties are 3 hours before we start a tournament or public play. So I got to factor that in. So it's resource allocation. That's the best case scenario. Realistically, it's probably going to be about 4 refs and myself. So you're getting about 5 dudes out there. Someone probably called out sick. Someone probably a couple days later, maybe they just decided we're just going to take that weekend off, or some situation pops up and they're not able to work that day. Great. That's usually how that ends up going. That's a best case scenario. Point being, tournaments are something that require so much effort, and you usually don't see the same return versus investing that much in that public play, which is what I use to survive as a business. That's just the simple business behind the tournament. It's just how it goes. I want you to tell me what field in the United States exists that solely financially survives off of the tournament demographic and has 0 public play. I want to know who this field. I want to talk to the manager. Bro, how do you do this? How? Anyone ain't doing it. Anyone's got public play. HDK Airsoft, public play. SS, public play. Tax City, public play. Tournaments are every couple months, once every couple months, really? You can't do them too often because players are going to burn out. Everyone wants to talk about competing every month. It's bullshit. No, they don't. You can get a good roster about every 3 months. So usually 3 to 4 months, so about quarterly. You can do a decent job. Otherwise, dudes are going to stop showing up for financial reasons, or they're burned out, or they told their girlfriend or their wife or their family, whatever, okay, I'll compete in this one and then I'll take a break for a couple months. We can do a family thing. That's usually how that plays out, realistically. Okay, so what about using volunteers as refs? Like players. It's 50-50 in my experience. Most of the dudes that want to play don't want to ref. They want to compete because that's what they are. Again, they've been working, they work their job all week and they're stoked to compete with the homies this weekend. They've been getting down on, speed nights for the last couple weeks or months. They got the new gun set up. They got the new gear set up. They're ready to try it out on the tournament scene. Not just on the speed night. They're done sparring. They're ready to fight and see what they got. So usually trying to get players to ref that you would trust, getting a tournament player to ref is kind of like pulling teeth sometimes for the reasons I just mentioned. Field staff is also typically the best way to go to sell neutrality. So let's say a homie from Team A. You get one guy from Team A to help ref. The rest of his team isn't there. They're doing whatever. He is the only guy from Team A that's there. If he is not perfect, if this dude isn't 2 more good deeds away from being Jesus Christ incarnate, right? There's going to be a problem. Because as soon as he is not perfect, or if he's ever had beef with anyone, or if someone has had beef with him, it's not going to go well. Because the perception is going to be that that guy is biased against this team or this player, and that's why they did or did not initiate a call. That's kind of just how it goes. Also, volunteer refs aren't usually that reliable in the sense of time. So if I can't get someone, so not only do I have to find a player, a competitive player that's willing to ref, I need to make sure they can be there for the entirety of the event. Because if they have to leave halfway through the tournament, then I'm just back to square one anyway. Not only am I back to square one, I'm bringing in a new ref. So it's kind of like being on a table in Vegas. So you're playing a blackjack table, right? And you're on a hot streak. New dealer comes in and you just lose hand after hand after hand. You blame the dealer. That's how it is with changing refs out, basically. I have a ref for, the first hour or two. That dude has to go to work, which is super cool that they were able to volunteer their time. New ref comes in. This guy, blah, 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 blah. This field is trash. It's ridiculous. Look for pricing. Look how many dudes went wild when NSL revealed their price tag. Look how many problems dudes have had with other events that are field, no more than $20 above field fee. Or say they're in that $150 to $200, $220 range. And dudes are still complaining, and there's still fights. And they get an entire team and they do this, and there's still problems, and dudes are still telling each other to go fuck themselves. What's my motivation? Why should I keep doing that? From a manager standpoint. The simple answer you're going to say is keep raising the tournament price so you can provide a better service. To which I will say, as a manager, from experience, no one's going to fucking show up. They're not. The simple fact of the matter is you would not typically pay more than about $30 to $50 above the field fee for a single day event of competition and expect to have a high quality product. No one's going to want to pay for that. It's just how it goes. Just the nature of the game. It's not the money. It's everything. It's you, motherfucker. It's you. You're a dick. That's the problem. You know what's an even bigger kick in the dick, honestly? Me going through, and my guy, me particularly, this is really just me just complaining, isn't it, for damn near a half hour. Going through all the trouble, organizing it, writing the rules, trying to come up with a somewhat newer format that I can sell to, a semi-newer format that I can sell to tournaments, trying to also create this format so that I can encourage action and do all this cool stuff, trying to come up with all these things, spending a week trying to talk my damn staff and basically begging them to please ref this tournament, doing everything possible to make sure this event is as close to perfection as I can get. And also while keeping it at an affordable price, right? Keeping it still no more than about $20 to $30 above a normal field fee. And dudes still walk away pissed. And they still get in my ref's face. And they still get pissed at me personally and my refs because they didn't read the rules and they got penalized. And because of that, I'm a shit field because they didn't read the rules because they fucking suck. Or what it really comes down to is a lot of players refuse to accept the fact that they're not as good as their Instagram highlights make them seem, right? Again, yeah, so that's a thing. Or they're mad because they're too much of a bitch to stay in the backfield and they don't understand what it sounds like when their AEG shoots dry or when their HBA shoots dry. So they're so they're laning with a fucking empty ass magazine and doing, I'm hitting that guy in the mask. No, you dumbass, you're not. You're not even shooting because you're such an amateur athlete and so filled with adrenaline, you don't know what an empty gun sounds like because you won't take the time to step back and act professionally and act like a real athlete and go, something's not working. Why is this not working? And problem solving. But that's my ref's fault. Even though my ref is within 5 feet of that dude on a perfect angle and isn't seeing anything, and you're saying, I'm shooting him in the mask. You're in the backfield, motherfucker. My ref is 5 feet away from this guy. You're not hitting him. You're not. You're being a pussy. That's what you're doing. Because a real motherfucker would bite down on their mouthpiece and go take the fight to him. But you're not. You know why you're not? Because you spend all this money on stuff and not on yourself, and you're trying to get all these Instagram followers, and maybe your sponsor will up your BB discount from 10 to 15%. Ooh, ballin'. Anyway, so there's that. But then they leave the field all pissed off because it's my fault or it's my ref's fault or, whatever. Or they start yelling at each other, going, what I was talking about earlier. And because of that, that's my fault also. So I'm supposed to basically father every player on the field. I mean, if that's how we're going to go, I'm just not going to do tournaments anymore. Again, I ain't making that much money, kids. I'm not. It's just kind of the way it goes. I'm kind of sick of this shit personally and as a manager. I'm going to be real. After CSL, I was ready to just incorporate the speed field into the main field, which I mean, kids have been asking me for years to take down the wasteland in the main field and bring it into the main field and make the main field bigger. And after CSL, I kind of thought about it. I'm going to be real for a minute because I was horribly disappointed in the way that dudes were acting to each other after CSL. But I always fucks with the scene, so we'll always do something. Just gonna kind of do my own thing, I guess. So field level tournaments are pretty much what I'm gonna stick with from here on up. And, CSL wants to come back, or if Sam and the Gunfighter homies want to come up, they're always welcome. Nothing big. It's not worth it in the long run. I do have a new friendship format that I'm working on, which I would want to experiment with, which is random draw teams. So everyone puts their name into a bucket, basically. We pull, 3 or 5 player lineups, depending on how many people show up. And then you random draw with a team. So you're not playing with your own team. And then you also act as refs. So let's say we're doing like a three line. So like a 3-on-3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Team 1 and 2 go against each other. And then team 3 and 4 are going to ref that match. And then we just rotate just through the bracket. So if you're going to get pissed off at anyone, you get pissed off at your own teammate, I guess. But I'm tired of having my ref staff getting dragged through the fucking mud for dumb shit. I ain't going to have that anymore. I will just outright stop those events. It's just simply not worth it. I've got either a 3 or a 5 person night tournament that I would like to try. It's a kind of a round robin format that I've been working with, where the win of the round or the set doesn't impact the standing of the tournament. It's a point base. So you win X amount, you eliminate a player, you get a point, or if you win a round, you get X amount of points, and whoever has the most amount of points wins. So let's say Team A loses to Team B. Well, in theory, Team A could still take first place. It doesn't really work out like that in a double elim format. So that is a 35-minute perspective from a manager standpoint as to why a lot of fields don't really like dealing with tournaments. And that's it. And I love all you guys. Even you whack motherfuckers that talk shit about me in my field, you'll still show up.